To begin making my tomato soup, we're actually going to roast our tomatoes. These are tomatoes out of my gardens that are all random shapes and sizes, and I'm going to put them straight into the bottom of the Ninja pot here. Really want to give these some good flavour. Now, of course, you don't have to do this stage. You can make your base of your soup and then put your tomatoes in, simmer it away and do it like that. But I think this really adds some extra flavour. So if you've got the time, then do this basically. So tomatoes, a little bit of extra virgin olive oil or regular olive oil if you haven't got that. And then I'm seasoning them with some black pepper and some salt. The vegetables and herbs and everything is going to come at a later stage. Last thing to go in is a couple of cloves of garlic. You can definitely use more garlic if you wish to. I'm going to now bake these until they're nice and soft. Now the baking of your tomatoes is going to be very dependent on how soft they already were. Mine was so super ripe. As you can see, they are mushing down really quickly in there. So these have only had 12 minutes and look how soft they are. So I'm good with that. Yours may take longer though if you've got some from the supermarket and they're pretty firm. It's just really going to depend. So but you can open the lid, you can check this. So I'm going to take those out now because they're done enough for what I need. So I've removed the tomatoes, just put them to one side. I'm just stopping the bake and going on to sear and saute now. I'm going to start with a little bit of oil in the bottom there just to get things going. And then the base of my soup is going to be carrot, celery, and also onion. So I'm going to cook this on fairly low, sort of medium low. I'm also adding butter to these as well. So a little bit of butter and some oil, and they are going to soften down so nice. Probably going to take around 10 to 15 minutes, I would guess, and you want to have these on a medium lowish heat. Now that these vegetables have softened down, you can see the onion and the celery are pretty translucent. They're looking really, really great. They've had, probably nearly 15 minutes. I'm going to tip in the tomatoes that we roasted earlier, and I have mushed them down a little bit further. They were pretty mushy because they were so ripe and soft. They were desperate to be used. So give those a mix through. We've still got those lumps of garlic in there, and that's absolutely fine. I'm going to be blending this later on, so I'm really not too worried about how chunky it is or the seeds and the pips. You can sift it as well if you wish to. I didn't have any fresh basil. If you've got fresh basil, you can most definitely use that. You can use dried basil. This one is one that you can buy in the supermarkets. It looks like this, and it comes in the freezer section. It's really handy to have that in your freezer just to flavour dishes as and when you need it. I'm going to add a bay leaf and some thyme sprigs. And then into that, I'm going to add my stock. I've chosen a chicken stock, but you could use vegetable stock. Obviously, if you want to keep this veggie, then use your veggie stock. Brilliant. That is everything in there now. So I'm just going to now let that simmer away. That's going to reduce because I'm going to leave the lid open. And we just want to get that to a nice consistency where I'm ready to blitz that up. After around 20 minutes, I find that mine is reduced down enough, and you can see that when we blitz this, it's going to be absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to remove the thyme sprigs because we don't really want to use those anymore. Don't want those in the soup. And then I've just got to try and find the other sprigs and the bay leaf in there as well, and we can give this a blitz. Let's get the lid on and let's give this a blitz. Now the consistency of the soup is going to be quite thick, but there's going to be little grains within it, if you can see. Now, if you like your soup like that, then leave it like that. If you preferred yours sieved, then you can sieve it. So really your choice. I wanted to show you the difference, so I thought I would actually sieve mine. If you like a chunkier soup, then leave yours. But if you just work at this, you can see you will end up with not very much left. You get almost like a pulp at the end. If you keep working it through that sieve. My sieve has got fairly small holes, but it's not a really super fine one, this. So you end up with a really small amount left at the end. And then I can probably keep going with that a little bit longer. And then you get a really rich, smooth tomato soup at the end. Look at that. Gorgeous. Just served up a big hearty bowl of my tomato soup. Garnished it with a little bit of cream just to give it that really nice edge. Serving it with a bread roll, and I'm probably going to put some butter on that as well. Look at that. Such a great lunch or dinner, this recipe. I'm going to show you how to make a gorgeous butternut squash soup, and this is going to be made in the slow cooker, so ideal for the weekend when you're out and about, or even in the midweek. It's a really cheap, budget-friendly meal for the family. Just serve it with some crusty bread and it's gorgeous. I've added some olive oil and my chopped up onion into my pan. You can do this on the hob if you want, but my slow cooker also has the sear and saute option because it's a Ninja. So do it either way, but this is just how we start it off. And then we're going to add some garlic in. You want 4 cloves of garlic, and we're just going to let that start to colour. Woo, steamy. That should just take a couple of minutes now. I've chopped all my veg up, so I've got the butternut squash, carrot, apple, and I've got some fresh sage out of my garden. I don't know about you guys, but cutting up a butternut squash, it's like an exercise class. It is tough. Probably the worst job, but it's going to be worth it. Next, I pop in 2 cups, which is about 500 ml of vegetable stock. I've added the veg, so give that a good stir around into that stock. And now we just need to add our spices. I've got some nutmeg here on a grater, and I'm just going to grate some of this without grating my fingers and my nails into here. We don't need loads. It's very warming, lovely autumnal winter style spice this. That should be enough. You only need a small sort of pinch really of ground cinnamon, so around like that amount. We don't want it to taste like a cake. And then 1/4 of a teaspoon, so only a small amount of cayenne pepper. Let's season that with some salt and some pepper, and that is it. It's going to go on to slow cook. The coconut milk will come later once all the veg is cooked. You can cook this for just sort of 2 to 3 hours on slow cook. On that, it needs to be on a high setting, or you can put it on a low setting and leave it for longer, like 4 to 6. I'm going to go with high today just because I need it quicker. Or minimum of 4 hours. I'll just put it on for 4, but I think after 3 it will be done. My vegetables are all soft now, so we're just going to blend this, then we can add the coconut milk. Right, so let's get the pot in there. I've just washed that up quickly because I used it earlier for the bread. Now we want to have it on sear and saute, probably around number 4. So let's get that going. What I've already prepared is some potatoes, and I've crushed a little bit of garlic into those as well. I've got leek, as I was saying to you, wanted to use this leek up, and then I had a little bit of celery hanging around, so I've got a tiny bit of celery as well. But this is pretty versatile, and it's a good recipe for using up things. Again, we're keeping it simple by using dried thyme. If you don't like thyme, you prefer something else, then use that. I've just got some salt and pepper here. And then I've just made up a jug of vegetable stock as well. So first things first, let's get a knob of butter in the Ninja. You could double up the quantities if you want to make more. You could always freeze a portion of this as well. Or keep it in the fridge, of course, for a few days. Just put it in an airtight container. While it's melting, we'll just pop in the leeks and they will start cooking. With soups in the Ninja, when you're pressure cooking, You could just completely skip this stage, but I think it really does add extra flavour to your soup if you just saute it off like this. Just going to grab the celery and I'm going to put that in at this stage as well. We want to soften, and when these just start to colour, we'll pop the potatoes in. We don't really want much colour on this at all. Right, I'm getting a tiny little bit of colour on there now, so let's scrape in the potatoes out of that bowl. And the garlic is already in there. I haven't really got a quantity of garlic to tell you. I think it's really just up to you how much garlic you like. Now I'm going to toss these around and get these potatoes smothered in that gorgeous butter that's in there. Right, really important to get your seasoning in. So I'm going in with some black pepper, some sea salt, and then my herb of choice, which is some thyme. This is such an easy recipe, isn't it? I mean, literally, this is taking minutes to do this. Now, all that's left to do is to add that vegetable stock. We've got 2 pints here. You've probably heard me say this before, but just to mention, when you are pressure cooking, you do need quite a lot of liquid. And when I say liquid, we're talking water or stock. If you don't have enough, it will not come to pressure. Select the pressure option, and then I'm going to cook that for 7 minutes. So we want it on high, and I want a delayed release on this. So pressure cook for 7 minutes. There you go. And then press start. Oh, smells really, really delicious. So now what I'm going to do is blend this up, and you can use a big blender or say like a hand blender. I'm going to go with a hand blender and just literally leave it in here. Why not? Saves up on some washing up, doesn't it? And then we can add a little bit of cream just to richen this up a little bit. So now we have a lovely thick rich soup. So not too much. Oh, I suppose you can put in as much as you like, really. That's just really going to add a lovely richness to this soup. So here's my delicious soup served up in a bowl. This is my Ninja bread that I've made as well. So to top this is the indulgent bit. This is why it's called a loaded leek and potato soup. I'm going to pop on some really rich, lovely cheddar, and then some crispy bacon, and then to top it right off, a sprinkle of chives. To make my creamy apple and parsnip soup using the Ninja Foodi, we're going to start off on sear and saute and add around 25 grams of butter in there. Let that start melting and add around a tablespoon of vegetable oil. Now we want to cook the onions and the parsnips. So we've got 2 medium onions here, which I have chopped up fairly finely. And then I've got parsnips going in there as well. 550 grams of parsnips, which have been peeled and chopped into roughly kind of 2 centimetre cubes. Doesn't have to be all that accurate, but let's get those starting to cook in the bottom there. So I want to give those probably 10-15 minutes, I would say, in the bottom of the pot on the sear and saute, and we just really want to soften down those onions. This is going to go under pressure, this soup, so I just wanted to really soften down the onions. Just think it really helps with the flavour if you do take the time to do this first. Then we can start adding in the other ingredients. So I've got here around 20 grams of fresh ginger, which I've diced up. I love the warmth in ginger. I think it's really nice in a soup. Adds a little kick as well. And then I'm just crushing in 2 cloves of garlic. And here goes the second one. Oh, it's tough, this. And then I want to add some thyme into here as well. Around a teaspoon, I think, will be nice. So let's give that another good stir. That is starting to smell really nice. Now we've got that garlic and the ginger in there. I think the parsnip and apple is a really great combination in this soup. So there we go. That is the first stage done. Now I'm using Bramley apples here, and I've got 450 grams, which was around 3 large Bramley apples. I've left those nice and chunky because this is going to get cooked under pressure. There you go. And now the last thing to add into this is my stock. I've chosen a vegetable stock in here, and I've got 800 millilitres. Let's close the lid, turn off the sear and saute, and let's get it under pressure. So everything's in the pot. We had the butter, the vegetable oil to start with, 2 onions, 550 grams of parsnips, 2 garlic cloves, 20 grams of ginger, 450 grams of Bramley apples, a teaspoon of thyme, and 800 millilitres of stock. So let's go over here onto pressure cook. Blimey, I've got food everywhere. My Ninja needs a good clean now. I've made such a mess. Been doing loads of recipes today. We are gonna cook this on high with a quick release, and I'm gonna go with 15 minutes. So my soup is all blended, so I'm going to pop this back into the Ninja pot. Let's try and get all of that out. We don't want to waste any of that. By using my Ninja blender, it is beautifully smooth. You can use a stick blender as well to do this. Just obviously be very careful of your Ninja pot because you do not want to scratch it and remove the non-stick on there. But this is a gorgeously creamy, rich, it's thick as well. It is so nice. So what you can do now is you can put that on to sear and saute just to heat that through. But what I like to also do with mine is season it, because I didn't add any seasoning earlier and I've given it a taste and I did feel like it needs some seasoning. I quite like a lot of black pepper in this recipe, but you can add what you want, taste as you go along. It's really got a beautiful sweetness, this soup. It's a little bit different, this one, which is what I like about it. Then I add some cream in. You can add dairy-free cream if you want to. Around 100 mils, I would say, should be about right. Obviously, if you're finding your soup is a little bit too thick for your liking, you could just add a little bit more stock, water. and you know that will loosen it. The cream does loosen it up as well, because obviously it was quite thick to start with. So just by adding that cream, you're changing the consistency. So let's grab a spoon and give that a little taste. All right, now we've got that seasoning in there. And you can see how thick it is. Oh yeah, that's better. I love that. If you like parsnips, you're going to absolutely adore this soup, and it's so easy.